I hate when people try to diminish people's legacies and try to like play them.
If it wasn't for Tony, oh.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another interesting video. This video is going to be about basically me listing some of the female R&B artists I feel like over the past 30 years are like really underrated. This list is made up of female R&B artists that I feel like they got their just due when they came out. You know, they were popping, they were popular when they came out. But over the years, you know, their popularity might have faded, or I feel like people try to play them now like they didn't have hits back then. You know what I'm saying? Or it's gonna be some R&B artists that I feel like they never got their just due. Like, you know, they didn't reach that mainstream level of popularity to where I can say, oh, you know, they had their run. No, it's some of them that I feel like they didn't really get a chance to reach their pinnacle or their peak, you know? First on my list is Ashanti.
Oh, baby.
Ashanti.
Now, we all know, if you're old enough to know, you remember, 2002 was like the year of Ashanti. You could not escape her, whether it was on TV or the radio. Her music was everywhere, her music videos were everywhere. Whether it was her own solo hits, or was like her collabs with Ja Rule, or she was singing the hook of a popular song, Ashanti was everywhere in 2002. Even bleeding into 2003, she came out with her second album, and that was a big hit. You know what I'm saying? And not to mention, Ashanti, she has a nice singing voice, but she also is a great songwriter. To the point where, if you know how Jennifer Lopez used to steal her vocals, and they tried to blend her demo vocals with Jennifer Lopez vocals, and she wrote half of the songs. You know, so it's like Ashanti was really popping back then. And I feel like now, people try to play her nowadays, like, you know, she's not as popular as she used to be. You know, she's not topping the charts as she was back in 2002. People try to say that she can't sing. I'm like, see, this is the thing, like I always said, like I said in my other video, she didn't have that gospel singing voice, but she didn't also have that whisper singing voice. Like, she had like a voice in between, like she had like a sweet sounding voice. You know, it was sweet, but you could hear the vocal ability in it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all wanted her to sing like Fantasia on Foolish. You know what I'm saying? Like, look it up. Ashanti had a lot of hits. She broke a lot of records back in the day. So, you know, a lot of people try to play her, but I'm like, you know, that's why I feel like she's underrated now. But she did a lot back then. You know what I'm saying? And her music still holds up today. So I feel like, you know, Ashanti is definitely underrated now. Next on the list, I put A. Marie.
Talking to me.
She also came out in 2002, and you know, she was known for like her summer hits. Like she had Why Don't We Fall in Love, she had Talking to Me, and you know, she wasn't as commercially successful as say like Ashanti, but I remember her being really popular. I remember her music videos always playing on the TV, and I remember hearing her songs on the radio all the time. You know what I'm saying? And she just, you know, she did her thing. And fast forward a few years later, she came out with One Thing, and that was a big hit. It wasn't like, it didn't go #1, but it was still a big hit. I remember that sound, that Rich Harrison sound. A lot of artists wanted that. And here we go again with J-Lo. She tried, if you didn't know, J-Lo tried to steal that song from her. So A. Marie had to end up leaking it so she could, you know, get the song first. Because, you know, Jennifer Lopez and her people always tried to steal songs and steal demos because, you know, they knew that sound was hot. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like nowadays, A. Marie, she kind of fell into like obscurity, and I know she got a YouTube channel on here too, where I think she do like book reviews and stuff. But I feel like, you know, when talking about R&B artists of the, you know, the past 20-30 years, you know, A. Marie kind of gets like, people kind of glance over her, and I feel like she's really underrated because she made some dope music, and you know, if she was to come back out now, you know, she would still make some great music. Okay, next on the list is Phyllis Hyman. Now, if you don't know who Phyllis Hyman is, this is the exact reason why she's on the list. Phyllis Hyman, I always talk about her because I remember watching her Unsung. You know, TV One do the Unsung episodes. And I remember watching hers. It came on as a rerun one day. And so for some reason, I don't know, I seen it before, but that one time I watched it, it made me want to go really look into her music. And I'm like, wow, she was so talented. You know what I'm saying? Like, she had that jazzy R&B type of influence, you know? Her music was like R&B, but it had jazzy influence type vocals. She was like a classic vocalist, you know what I'm saying? she was really all about her vocals and showing her vocal ability. You know, she did a lot of ballads, and because she stuck to like that jazzy R&B, it didn't go as mainstream as others, and she tended to get overlooked. And another thing with Phyllis Hyman is she was at one point in her career, she was with Clive Davis, and you know Clive Davis, it was one point whoever he touched, you know, they became real mainstream and popular. But Phyllis Hyman, she wasn't the one to like bite her tongue. She was the one to fight back and tell it like it is. And eventually Clive Davis just got tired of that because he couldn't boss her around, and then he discovered Whitney Houston. I mean, do I even need to say any more after that? He discovered Whitney Houston. You know, Whitney Houston, I mean, come on. Whitney Houston, she kind of just let Clive just, you know, tell her what to do. And that's not saying anything against Whitney Houston, but you know, he was telling her how to dress, what songs to sing. He was picking her songs, picking what melody. You know, he was doing everything for her at one point when she first came out. Phyllis Hyman wasn't like that. Now, mind you, she started in like the 70s, but in like the early 90s, she finally got like her big breakthrough hit, which was Don't Want to Change the World, right? But, you know, and that was a good thing for her, but this is, mind you, she got her big hit. That was her biggest hit. It went #1 on the R&B charts. 15 plus years in her career, you know what I'm saying? She been doing music for all this time, and the one time she do like a mid-tempo dance record, that's the one that go #1. All her ballads and everything, she still, you know, they were liked, but like I said, it wasn't that mainstream music that the radio was always going to play, so she tended to get overlooked. And she was also battling depression, right? And she felt so underappreciated, and many, I can't say for sure, but many believe that's what aided her in, you know, unfortunately committing suicide, because she felt so underappreciated. But you know, I'm gonna appreciate her now and say Phyllis Hyman is one of the most underrated R&B artists. Not even for the female, just in general. She was a top-notch vocalist, and she was really talented. She even did Broadway. She even started in the Broadway show Sophisticated Ladies. You see how talented she was? So, you know, I had to put her on the list. Next on the list is Tamia. Now, from my understanding, Tamia was discovered by Quincy Jones, right? And you know, Quincy Jones is another mogul. Whoever he touched, most of the times they went, you know, they soared, you know, they did good in their careers. But I feel like Tamia, she's another amazing vocalist, right? And she did go mainstream in a way, but she went like urban mainstream. Like she didn't go like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston mainstream. And you know, talking about it now, not every artist has to go mainstream, but it's like, that's why I feel like she's underrated, because her talent was appreciated, right? But I feel like she should have went further in her career than she did. She had a lot of ballads. She had I'm So Into You with Fabulous. And, you know, that was originally her song anyway, but then that became a big, you know, R&B hip hop hit. But I feel like over the years, Tamia, similar to like Deborah Cox, they were both amazing vocalists, but they kind of like fell to the side, you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't get that mainstream platform as they didn't get that main stage, like you know what I'm trying to say? And she never had that big hit that, you know, catapulted her into superstardom. As amazing as her vocals are, she never got her just due, just like Phyllis Hyman. Now, next on the list is Ciara. Now, we all know Ciara. I'll never forget, I had to be in like 4th or 5th grade. This is back in 2004. I remember coming home from school, turning on the 106 Park. That was a habit for me. Every time I came home, I had to watch 106 Park. And I never forget the day her music video premiered. It was Goodies. I never forget, this was the first time I ever seen her, ever heard of her. And I seen that video, I heard the beat, I seen her dancing. And I was like, oh, and my cousin was like, oh yeah, it's this new girl named Ciara. I think she's Monica's cousin. Oh yeah, and I was like, oh, and I was like, from there I was hooked on her. Like I love the flavor. She brought a new flavor to music. You know what I'm saying? And she's even credited with creating like a new genre, like crunk and B, like that crunk music mixed with R&B. You know what I'm saying? And she was a great dancer, and she had a lot of hits back then. You know, similar to like how Ashanti was all over 2002, 2004, Ciara was all over that year. You know what I'm saying? Her songs was everywhere, all over the radio, all over. Her music videos was all over TV. She was everywhere, and I feel like, you know, as the years went on, she had more hits, but I feel like her popularity kind of decreased, and people like Ashanti, they try to play her like she didn't have hits back then. You know, she settled down, she had a family, you know what I'm saying? And you know, all that stuff that happened with Future, but people try to play her like she didn't have hits, and I'm like, no. That's why I knew she had to be included on this list, because Ciara is definitely talented. She broke records back in the day too, and you know, she just, like, you know, people try to play her for her vocals, but she made those vocals work for her. Like, Ciara wasn't trying to be nobody's choir singer. So for people, I don't know, people have this thing where if you sing in that softer voice, right? And I always say this, people have this thing where if you sing in a softer voice, nowadays they want to clown you and be like, oh, she can't sing. She doesn't sing. She doesn't know how to sing. She whispers. Oh, and like I said, you know, Ciara made her voice work for her. That was it. Over, you know, the last few years, you know, she still has had hits. You know, she had like, and, you know, her latest one being Level Up, but it's, you know, it doesn't get the same popularity. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't get the same hype as other artists. Like, for example, if Rihanna was to release Level Up like Ciara did and had a dope music video to go with it like Ciara did, I feel like it would have blew up. Level Up was popular. It was a big hit, but it didn't like really, you know, like Level Up didn't get its just due because it was Ciara. You know, people love the song. She even had a challenge on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that, but people didn't give the song the proper attention. You know what I'm saying? She was dope back in the day. She's still dope today, and she needs to get her just due. People need to stop playing her like she didn't have hits. Next on my list is Keri Hilson.
I'm beautiful. Hey, now do the pretty girl.
You know, Keri Hilson is really interesting to me because I feel like it was one point in time, especially in like 2009, 2010, in that era, she was really big. You know what I'm saying? Now, and like I said, like Ashanti, but even bigger, Keri Hilson wrote a lot of songs. She's a major songwriter. So, you know, if anything, if she's not, you know, doing music, she's behind the scenes writing music and stuff. I really liked her music too. And I liked her harmonies. I thought she was a good singer. She sung in her mid-range a lot, you know what I'm saying? And she knew what would sound pleasing to the ear as a songwriter. And as a vocalist, you know, she knew how to blend vocals together. You know, she knew about all of that. She was a songwriter. But I feel like, you know, Keri Hilson, I feel like her career should have been way bigger. And she had a lot of dope songs. Not only the ones that she wrote, but the ones that she sung on or she sung the hook on. And I think her popularity kind of dwindled when I guess she made something about Beyonce, or she made some type of diss record about Beyonce telling her to sit down and have some babies. Something like that happened. And I feel like, you know how the Beehive is. They go after every artist. They can go after other artists, but somebody say something about Beyonce, oh, now they blackballed, their career is over. And, you know, I guess it worked because, you know, after that happened, after that incident, Keri Hilson kind of dwindled away. You don't really see her no more. Now she's on IG talking about 5G towers and stuff. But I feel like Keri Hilson is talented. She's really talented as a songwriter and an artist. And I really want her to make a comeback because I feel like she would be bringing some dope music right now. And last on my list is Kelly Rowland.
Please be tight, look me deep inside my eyes, baby, you I love it.
Now we all know Kelly got her start with Destiny's Child. You know, it was a big girl group, and then, you know, eventually she went into her solo things. And now, mind you, Kelly Rowland was the first one out of Destiny's Child to have a big hit outside of the group. She had Dilemma with Nelly, right? And she sung the hook on it, and that was a big hit. I remember that. To this day, that's still a big hit. And, you know, but her solo albums, after that, her solo endeavors, they didn't really measure up to like the success and the hype of Destiny's Child or like say when Beyonce went solo, and I feel like that's why Kelly Rowland's underrated because first of all, Kelly Rowland is a great singer, and I never really paid attention to her dancing like that, but I was recently watching some Destiny's Child like live performances, and Kelly Rowland could dance, like even in the music videos. Kelly Rowland could keep up with the best of them. She was a great dancer and she was a great vocalist. But the thing with Kelly is she was inconsistent with it. Like, Kelly got a lot of success overseas, but I feel like it's crazy when you get more success overseas than your own country. You know what I'm saying? Like overseas, she had a lot of big dance hits, but in America, her solo music was kind of like it was like in the middle of the charts. It wasn't. She didn't have no big monster. After Dilemma, none of her solo songs really went that big. Motivation, I feel like Motivation was the closest one, right? Motivation was big. I remember that was a big video and it was all over the radio. But it didn't really, that's another song I feel like didn't get enough attention, you know what I'm saying? Because Kelly Rowland, she did her thing in that video and she did her thing in that song. And she even recently released a song, Coffee, and that's another dope song. But and it makes me wonder, and I think about it, I really do think colorism played a role in why her career didn't pop off like that. And not to say anything against, you know, other artists like Beyonce or anything, but I feel like Kelly Rowland, some of her songs should have been bigger than they were. But it makes me wonder, like, you know, if Beyonce did some of the songs Kelly did, would they have been bigger hits? It makes me wonder. And even back then in the day, a lot of people didn't pay attention to Kelly because, you know, Beyonce was the center and focus. But I look back on the interviews and I look back on the music videos and I'm like, damn, Kelly always did her thing. You know, a lot of people try to play her and Michelle and the other, you know, LaToya and Latavia, but they really held their own and they really did their thing. And Kelly especially, she was like Beyonce's right hand, you know what I'm saying? So without Kelly, Destiny's Child wouldn't have been, you know, Kelly was like the mold of that group. She held it together. You know, Kelly had major success with Destiny's Child, and she even had a nice amount of solo hits, but I feel like her solo career never really popped off like it should have, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I really have to put her on this list, because as talented as she is, her career, solo-wise, should have been way bigger. You know what I'm saying? So that concludes my list of the top female R&B artists that I feel like are too underrated, whether it was back in the day or now, you know what I'm saying? Like over the last 30 years, those are the top female R&B artists I could pull from the top of my head where I feel like they're really underrated now, or I feel like they never got their just due, or at one point in time they were really popular and nowadays people try to play them like they weren't, you know what I'm saying? You know, not everybody stays on top forever. But we're not going to diminish their legacies or diminish all the talent and all the hard work they put into their careers and diminish all the great music they left us. You know what I'm saying?
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to be a hit maker for 20, 30 years. At one point in time, Michael Jackson wasn't making the biggest hits. But I hate when people try to diminish people's legacies and try to like play them like their careers never amounted to nothing or like they never had hits just because they're not popular or they're not number one today, you know? So that's just my list. What is your list? Do y'all agree with my list? Tell me down below and let's get this discussion started. Who are some other female R&B artists from the past 20, 30 years you feel are underrated? Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can always see when I post. Thank you for watching. This has been a fun video. I'll see y'all in the next one.